Hey folks, this is Thrifty Gamer 83 bringing you a review of Sonic DX Director's Cut for the Nintendo GameCube. Sonic Adventure Director's Cut has a nice, vibrant color palette. It really seems to pop. It has a nice musical score, although it is a little bit tedious to listen to after a while. The scoring is very bland, very techno. It gets boring after a while, personally. I just find it to be one of the biggest bothers and hindrances of the game. It's very fast, as you can tell, very reflexive. It's basically one of the last great Sonic games of all time. However, I don't like the fact that it is 3D, believe it or not. I like the 2D platforming Sonic games, as 3D platforming is boring, tedious, repetitive, overused, aggravating, and frustrating. It doesn't mean that it's a bad game, it just means that it comes with its own minor annoyances. It doesn't really differentiate itself well from the pack. In my mind, yes, the visuals are stunning, they do pop. This is the GameCube port and re-release Director's Cut after all, but it's a really rather boring and limited game. It doesn't have the same aesthetics or beauty which you would think would be commonplace for a Sonic game. The music, I want to say I like the music sometimes, but it's just repetitive. It's one big show of what the Dreamcast was capable of. Yes, I know this is a port, but that's what it is. It's one big technological showcase, which proved what the Dreamcast was capable of. The voice acting is atrocious. It's some of the worst voice acting I've ever heard. It's on par with Blue Stinger, which was also an overly hyped bomb for the Dreamcast. Personally, I liked Blue Stinger. I liked the quirky characters. The combat reminds me of Dead Island. This, however, is one of Sega's letdowns. It's really not that imaginative. It feels like it cloned or wholesale ripped off Mario 64. And that's where it stands with me. While it's inventive and fun, it's just not... I'm just not that into it. It has many glaring weaknesses. Its color does pop, yes, but at the same time, the controls are annoying. At times they can be overly tight, and at other times they're too loose. I really get a headache playing this game with the controls not being spot on. It doesn't feel like Sega put everything it had into this incarnation for Sonic iteration, what have you. It just feels limited. I've always loved Sonic games, but always the 2D platformers, never the 3D. The 3D games don't have that level of challenge. They don't have that level of concentration and timing which the 2D games required. And that's really where it stands for me. It's at a pivotal juncture in the Sonic franchise, just before they started producing terrible clones and imitation games. It's hard for me to say such things, given that it is Sonic Adventure. But in the end, it's a terrible port. It's playing it on the Dreamcast, it still was an overrated flop to me. It's not so much nostalgia, nor that I revered it in liking it. It's too weak. Everything about this game was played out with Mario 64. Sonic drops the ball. Sonic has fumbled. Sonic, you can't really say jump the shark, but just, you can say you knew the Dreamcast was the end for Sega. And it didn't help that it put out bombs like this. As many people I know who like Sonic would never enjoy the 3D farce that this game basically is. I mean, even today, newer Sonic games and titles are returning to the 2D tried and true platform instead of trying to go through a 3D rendition and platforming adventure. It's really disheartening. It almost makes me motion sick to play, but I do love the game at times. At times it does things right, and at other times it's so incredibly freakish. It's basically like an ugly sweater that, you know, the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, you know, that ugly sweater that an aunt gets you. You'd wear it, but you wouldn't be happy with it. And that's where Sonic Adventure fits in. You like it for what it was when you were younger, but as you've grown older, the game has not aged well at all. It's aged terribly. At the same time, it's hard to believe that games like Resident Evil Code Veronica were coming out for the Dreamcast, because Sonic Adventure dropped the ball. It looked nice, like Blue Stinger. It looked nice. That's the best thing you can quite possibly say about Sonic Adventure Director's Cut. It looks nice. It pushed the Dreamcast. It doesn't push the GameCube.